guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Tiffany and I do movie reactions and sometimes tier rankings on this channel. But if you're not new here, welcome back, Cinephiles. So I want to start by saying I am sorry. I completely forgot to do a tier ranking for Fear Street because I did one for Scream, I did one for Final Destination, and I really do enjoy doing them. But I think how long Scream took and how long that video turned out being reminded me that there was Fear Street that I did not do. And granted, the argument can be made, hey, you didn't do Megan, you didn't do the creep tapes. If you wanted me to rank those, go ahead and leave that in the comment section down below. I'm more than happy to do them. I just want to know that there is a demand for them, which is why I put this in the community tab post and asked if it had been too long, because we did these back in, I want to say May of last year, right when the channel started. And you guys still said, yes, absolutely, we want to get this done. So I didn't necessarily rewatch the movies. Things have been crazy with work lately, which I know everybody has work problems. And that led to me wanting to get this video done, really wanting to talk about these deaths because I do still remember a large portion of these movies because they were such great hits in my mind. But I wound up going and looking at Dead Meat's Fear Street series. Now, granted, Dead Meat absolutely does not need my help at all. They are an amazing channel. They have millions of subscribers. Chelsea, Rebecca, and James have paved the way for YouTubers like myself to talk about horror and everything that is encapsulated into it. But I went back and watched their episodes on the original trilogy as well as Prom Queen, just to kind of refamiliarize myself with the deaths, at least, as that is what we are going to be ranking, and that is all we are going to be looking at. So, without further ado, if you haven't already, grab a snack, grab a glass of water, sit down and tuck in, because the Scream one was an hour and a half long, and this has 41 deaths in it. So I don't know how long this is gonna take. But if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are closer and closer to 500 every single day. Leave this video a like if you are happy that I've done this ranking and would like to see more of these tier rankings from me. And leave me a comment down below and let me know if you do want me to do the series like Megan or the Creep Tapes or anything like that. I'd be more than happy to rank. I'm even considering ranking the opening kills from Scream. Please let me know if you would like to see that. And by ranking, I mean like worst to best and stuff like that. I would love to do more of them and share my opinions with you as long as you want to hear them. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so like I said in my opening, there are 41 deaths. And yes, I know that some of these are group deaths. We are going to be following the same thing that we did with Final Destination and Scream, where if there are more than one people or more than one person that dies in like a group setting, then we're going to count it the same. And yes, I know the officers in Scream 2, Officer Andrews and Officer Richards, I counted separately because while it's in the same scene, they had very separated deaths. So we are going to be looking at that. These deaths do span the original trilogy, 1994, 1978, as well as 1666, and the sequel that came out last year. Sequel is a loose term for Fear Street Prom Queen, which is set in the 80s. So these have, like the others, actually just went in order as how I put them. But we are just going to follow it in order. I feel like that's the best way to do it, especially with these. The first three movies are so connected. And then we had Prom Queen, which was not as great. But first I'm going to introduce you to our tiers. We have Sarah Fear Lives. I feel like this is the best one, even though Prom Queen does not center around Sarah Fear. We even have a little tidbit where Megan is smoking marijuana in the bathroom, and there is a marker where somebody has written Sarah Fear Lives. She is such an integral part of the series. She is the series, so it just made sense that that was going to be our S tier, where everything is just superior. They are great deaths. I think that they are some of the best deaths, most creative, or they are just my favorites. After this, we are looking at Two-Faced Solomon Good. If you watched my Fear Street 1666 reaction, you will know that I was a huge fan of Nick Good and Solomon Good. I loved them. I thought that they were so sweet. I really wanted Ziggy and Nick, as well as Sarah and Solomon, to have a relationship. I thought it was just so adorable. I thought that it was great. And then he wound up being a little gaslighty. You know what I'm talking about. So, these are the deaths that I like, but gave me a little something to be desired, like how I loved Solomon Good, and then I was not a big fan of him towards the end. Then we have Janitor Red Herring. This is mostly looking at Fear Street Prom Queen, which is where we had the janitor Stoker, who was kind of the big red herring of the series or of the film. And we kind of presumed that he was going to be the one who was offing all the children, but was not. And the reason I put that in C tier is because this is just. I mean, we get this in a lot of movies. It's an urban legend where the janitor's kind of creepy and then winds up having nothing to do with the story other than the fact that they are just trying to do their job and are a little off. They do this in a lot of films. There's a lot of red herrings, and this is just kind of where we've seen it before. I'm not impressed, so that's why I put it as janitor red herring. Next, we have the Wolf Pack, which also looks at Fear Street Prom Queen. Tiffany Falconer's group of friends, Debbie, Linda, and Melissa, are all called the Wolf Pack, which is fine, but it's just kind of meh. Like, even the girls, they all were best friends, and they had, like, the Mean Girls aspect going on, but they were just meh. There wasn't much to them. I wasn't impressed at all. And then we have Welcome to Shitty Side. This is spray painted on the Welcome to Sunny Side, or Shady Side, excuse me. Welcome to Shady Side sign at the front of the town before you get into Sunnyvale. And somebody has spray painted over Shady with Shitty. These are the deaths I just do not like at all. These are the deaths that I think are ridiculous. I think that they are just, we could have done without them. There was really no point to them. This could be anything from an off-screen death or a death that I just wasn't a big fan of. And this is just something that I'm going to go ahead and clarify now. This is my opinion. You are more than entitled to your opinion, and you feel free to let me know in the comment section below if I put something somewhere that you would have put elsewhere. Please let me know where and why in the comment section below. I would love to hear your opinion on these. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into the deaths from Fear Street, Part 1, 1994. So, starting out, we have victims that we see that are in the mall. They're kind of slashed up. We're not really sure how they died. And this is actually going to be our first inductee into Welcome to Shitty Side. These deaths, we don't know exactly how they died. We don't know why they died. Were they in the way? Are they just there? Like, what is the point to them? So, when Maya Hawke runs past them and sees them, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's nice. Anywho. So, I have no attachment to these characters. I really don't care that they died. Where were they before that? Because we see that Heather, Maya Hawke's character, and Ryan are talking as they're closing down the mall, and there's the janitor, but we don't see these others before that, so I'm assuming they might be other store employees. I'm assuming a lot, but that's just because we're not told anything. Moving on to Heather, which is Maya Hawke's character. Granted, she dies after Ryan, but it's fine. She is the opening girl. She is the main girl that you would think would be the final girl, but she is not. She is a bookstore employee, which I love. I thought was so great. And her death scene is really cool. I actually really enjoy her death scene. It starts out in a glow-in-the-dark store where all of the stuff glows in the dark, for lack of better words. And so you've got this moody setting, and then this guy in a skull mask, or a Halloween mask, stalking her and chasing her, and then they stab her and chase her down and wind up ending her life. Her chase scene is really good. I really like the fact that she's trying to outsmart him in that store, and then, she throws things at him, and it kind of goes from that store to the bookstore and then out to the food court. So I do like that whole sequence, and it is the opening sequence. What makes you want to watch more. Is what made me go, huh, okay, well, this series is actually pretty good. So I was really happy with that death. I can't really find much wrong with it. It's not really her death that I have a problem with. So I'm actually going to put her in Sarah Fear Lives. I think that Heather's death is one of my favorites from the Fear Street series, if not the favorite death from the Fear Street movie. But I think you guys know my favorite death from that one, so we'll get to that one soon. Next, we're going to be looking at Ryan Torres. Ryan is the Skull Mask killer. We find out that his name was put on the wall. And he winds up getting shot in the head by Nick Good. It's right after he's unmasked. You don't really know why. It's more shocking to find out that he's still behind the Skull Mask later than his death is good. So I'm actually going to put his in Janitor Red Herring. It was surprising to find out that he was under the mask, but his death leaves a lot to be desired for. He was shot in the head once. There was no standoff. It was just done. We are now going to be looking at Peter Brody. Peter is Sam's new boyfriend at her new school in Sunnyvale. He is an egotistical, arrogant jock, but he gets stabbed in the chest area from behind when they are in the hospital after the car accident that he started but did not finish. It's just a stab by the Skull Mask. His death is shocking because it's in the middle of a fight that Dina and Sam are having, so it's when he makes that gurgling noise, you kind of want to be around and be like, what, Peter? But, you know, Peter's dying. He has every right to make a noise. So I'm actually going to give him into Two-Face Solomon Good. I like his death. I think it's shocking, but I just don't care enough about his character, and I felt like the stabbing was just meh. I mean, granted, it's based off 90s slasher films and such, so, you know, stabbing's kind of integral, but it just wasn't as good as, say, Heather's. Now we are going to be looking at Stephanie. She is the receptionist at the hospital, and they talk to her, go in to see Sam, and come back out, and she's got her neck slashed. She is going to be going in the wolf pack. I don't hate her death because I do like her character, and I like that we're seeing afterwards that, hey, you know, Skull Mask did not just come straight to us. He kind of did his business first. But it's the fact that it's just a simple neck slash. I feel like we see these so often when it comes to films that have knives as their main weapon. It's always slashed or stabbed or gouged. Like, what? We could do a little bit more with that, you know. I'm not going to go into detail here because that's just to be left up to the imagination. The Saw movies have shown us some. But it seemed, and it was off screen, so it was very meh, but it was just, at least we saw what happened. Now we are going to be looking at Nurse Betty, and I am going to put him, or they, into, I go back and forth between Janitor Red Herring and Two-Face Solomon Good. Betty's death is interesting because they come, I'm just going to refer to them as they come to see Skull Mask, and they're trying to, you know, talk to them, and they get the knife through the bottom of their chin, which is definitely not something we see as much with knife kills. I think I am going to go into Two-Face Solomon Good. I really liked Nurse Betty. I thought that they were very funny, kind of some comedic relief, and I thought their deaths was pretty cool. But there was just, like I said, something to be desired. Now we are going to be looking at 4 kills that are actually part of the Fear Street 1994 flashback scene. This flashback scene pertains to other murders that have happened in Shadyside where a teen in the town has gone, a teen or an adult in the town, has gone a little crazy and has started a string of murders. This is something that is normalized in Shadyside, but Josh winds up bringing it to Dina, Kate, and Simon's attention after they run into Ruby Lane. Now, I'm going to go ahead and preface that I'm not going to be including the deaths of a lot of the killers in this unless we see it. And also, they're kind of like in 1666 when they have like the monster mash kind of thing where they all fight and rip each other apart. They don't die. They come back together. So I'm not going to be including those either, even though they are amazing scenes. But in these 4 flashbacks, we start by having Ruby Lane's straight razor victim, which is Ruby was a girl in the 60s who began to sing this song and cut her best friend's throats with straight razors. I'm going to put this in the wolf pack. A straight razor is a really cool weapon. You don't see that as much in horror films, mostly Sweeney Todd. But the fact that it is such a short little clip is something that makes it a little bit less than Janitor Red Herring. But the knife is what brings it up from Welcome to Shitty Side. So I think there's nothing very special about it. Obviously, Ruby does have a major part in it, but seeing her victim just doesn't... The death scene isn't as good as it could be. Now, on the other side of that, we have the milkman's housewife victim, and I'm going to go ahead and throw that up into Janitor Red Herring. If I'm not mistaken, I know that he uses a knife at one point, but in this, I believe he used a corkscrew, which I found insane. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I may need to go back and rewatch that part. But what gets me and what brings this above the wolf pack into Janitor Red Herring is the way that he, first of all, he's burned beyond recognition, but he leans in and he sniffs his victim. Like he's wanting to just smell the aroma of death wafting from her. And it's horrifying. If I've just been stabbed repeatedly with a corkscrew and I'm hanging on to the last seconds of life and you sniff me, no thank you. No thank you, sir. So for me, that's what put that up into Janitor Red Herring, just because of the chilling aspect of it. I could not. Along those same lines, I'm going to put Billy Barker's brother. This is a child who, by the way, the mask for Billy Barker looks a lot like Brahms in The Boy, so I find that hilarious. But what we see of this, and these flashbacks are such short snippets. Such short snippets. But Billy, we just see this little kid beating his brother's skull in with a baseball bat. And it's horrifying. It's horrific. Like, you're sitting there and you're like adult, a teenager, a child.
Boom. A child. No.
And it's shocking. It's just absolutely horrendous. And so to see that, it brought it up a little bit more into Janitor Red Herring for me, because I like how shocking it is. I like how the movie wanted you to be shocked. But I'm not necessarily thinking that the blunt force trauma of another child is as good. Obviously, we don't want it to be better, but the only thing that puts it in Janitor Red Herring is the shock value from that. Now we have Isaac Milton's. I know he's portrayed as the grifter. When I was looking onto different sites, they said his name was Isaac Milton, so I'm going to refer to it as Isaac Milton. But his drowning victim, I'm going to put that in the wolf pack too. I love his outfit. I love the mask and everything, but I do think drowning is just something that has been so overdone, especially in like summertime movies. So I just wasn't... It wasn't great that for me. Now we are going to be looking at Kate, and I think you all know where she's going. Straight into Sarah Fear Lives. Straight into Sarah Fear Lives. The bread slicer. The fucking bread slicer. Look, I have problems taking things out of the oven because I've burned myself so many times. And you're telling me I now have to be afraid of bread slicers in the supermarket? No, I will not be making bread anytime soon. I have gotten into meal prepping. Will not be making bread anytime soon. Nearly bought myself a bread maker. And now I'm glad I didn't, because every time I used it and started cutting bread, I would think about this scene where Kate is fighting for her life and gets her head put through a bread slicer. But my question too is it even feasibly possible? Would those blades, because they are so used to cutting like soft things, wouldn't they stop or get lodged into the cranium? That's a good question. I need to know the answer to that. If anybody knows, please let me know down below, because I feel like there's a safety thing on those blades. And yes, suspension of disbelief, but still. So the reason I'm putting her in Sarah Fuller Lives is for those reasons, and also because she is such a big part of the story. I did not think she was going to die that bloody. Along with that, one of the more shocking deaths and ones that irritated me to no hell is Simon, my favorite character, my sweet baby Fred Heckinger. Still not sure how to pronounce that. Please let me know. But he is great. I've seen him in a good few movies now, and I think that he's an awesome actor. But him playing Simon in this is hilarious. He is the best comic relief. He is everything that the movie needed. And then they just went and put an axe through his head. And I did not think that was going to happen, especially 15 seconds after losing Kate. What the hell? But regardless of that, the fact is he just gets an axe into his head. It's shocking and everything, but it's not as shocking and groundbreaking as Kate's death. So I'm going to put him in Toothface Solomon Good. I liked it. I liked how shocking it was and how quick it was. And I liked the axe, but it just something. It wasn't as shocking. It's very hard to follow up the bread slicer 15 seconds later. Now we are going to be looking at Sam Fraser. Now, granted, yes, I know Sam lives and everything, but they had to kill her in order to get the monsters to stop. So she does have a death scene in here where they drown her in the water for the lobster tank. And it's just, I don't know. I think that Sam's death, I'm going to put it in the wolf pack. I think that it was interesting how they chose to do it, especially with it being a lobster tank, and the fact that Dina has to hold her head underwater when she definitely doesn't want to kill her. But I think that the scene goes on for way too long. And at that point, I'm just shoving the whole body in. I'm just like, just stop breathing, girl. So, and the need for her to die led to Simon dying and Kate. But yeah. So that is it for 1994. We are now going to be getting into 1978. 78 looks at Camp Nightwing, which is a camp that is very reminiscent of like Sleepaway Camp and such. But we do have some deaths that start there, beginning with Arnie. Arnie is Alice's boyfriend. They are both big stoners. And he gets chopped with the axe by Tommy, sweet Tommy. I liked Arnie's death. I was a big fan of Arnie's character. I liked him and Alice together. I thought that they were a cool dichotomy to Tommy and Cindy. And I was sad when he died. But you didn't expect Tommy to kill Arnie. Especially even when he's hearing voices, you didn't expect it, because Arnie's over there trying to help him, and then all of a sudden he's gone. There's an axe in him. So I would say that his death is interesting. I'm going to also put him in Two-Face Solomon Good. I go back and forth between Janitor Red Herring and Two-Face Solomon Good. I keep saying tooth. But I think I'm going to put it up there because, kind of like Simon, it was shocking, but it just wasn't as good as some of the other deaths. Now we are going to be looking at Jeremy. I feel bad if I don't put it higher up because it's a kid dying, and obviously I hate, kids dying in movies. But he and some of the children in the camp that we're going to be seeing later, they all died in the same way. Everybody dies by hacking. But Jeremy puts up a little bit more of a fight. Like, he recognizes his killer. He's not really sure how to deal with it and everything, so I feel like his death is a little bit sadder. So I'll actually go ahead and do these together. I'm gonna put Jeremy in Janitor Red Herring. I don't like the fact that it's a kid dying, and I don't like some of the choices made. I do love the fact that they kind of cut away and they do it off screen. And I love Jeremy's banter prior to his demise. But all in all, because it is a child dying, it's just not my favorite. Along with that, like I said, we were going to go ahead and do these children who basically captured during the Color War, and then Tommy happens upon them and kills them. I'm going to put them in the wolf pack. These are just children who are just playing a game. They aren't in your way. They aren't trying to do anything to stop you. They are just playing a game, and they get murdered for it. It is said that one of the characters in this scene that dies is Kate's ancestor from 1994. I can't say that completely. But these children are not in your way. They don't have the blood on them or anything. And you just hacked away at them for no reason. So that's not something that I'm very happy about. However, I'm going to be looking at Joan next. She is very into her psychedelics, and she gets killed right after a sex scene, which is very reminiscent of 70s and 80s cabin films. I think back a lot to Friday the 13th Part 1 from 1980, where Marcy and Kevin Bacon's character wind up having sex, and then she speaks to herself in the mirror, comes out, and gets the axe in the head. That's kind of what happens here, only Joan gets it into the chest while her beau is in the shower. So I do like the fact that it's reminiscent of that, but because it's reminiscent of that, it's going to go into Janitor Red Herring. They could have done it a little bit differently, because it's literally the same thing, and Friday the 13th did it better, because it's got the axe in the face. Now we're going to be looking at Gary. Gary's death is crazy. He gets decapitated in the porta potty, and then his entire body falls down the hole into the moss. So you mean to tell me that anything can fit down that porta potty hole? Because of the scene of his body falling, I am putting him in... Actually, I put that wrong thing. I'm putting him in Sarah Fear Lives. I really liked his death. I thought that it was interesting. I loved that he was there to help Ziggy, and then all of a sudden, his head's gone and his head falls down, and you're thinking, oh, his body's just going to hit the floor in the porta potty or the outhouse, but then it falls into the hole, and you're like, how big is that hole? And lands on Alice. So it's got those differentiations to it. So I really enjoy that one. I can't really find much wrong with it. Now we're going to be looking at Tommy. Tommy doesn't technically die until towards the end of the movie, because he's just kind of crazed at that point, kind of like how Ryan Torres in the first one was crazed and then wound up dying at the beginning of the movie. Tommy dies pretty late in the film, and he just gets stabbed. His death after he's dead, when Cindy decapitates him, is a lot better than when Cindy jumps on his back and stabs him. So I'm going to put his in the wolf pack. It's fine. I mean, he has a character death and everything, but for him to be such a big part of the movie, where he is the one that is mainly the villain, where he does have such a cool after death scene, they could have done a little bit more with his death. So I wasn't impressed at all. Same thing goes with Alice. Alice was my favorite character. She was very opinionated. She was very out there. She was doing all these crazy things, just for her to turn around and get slashed and then fall to the ground and die. Like, yes, it was, immediate and it was shocking and everything, but seriously? Seriously. For this kind of character, for this level of a character, you're going to just slash her and call it a day? It gave the feeling of, we don't have that much more time and we don't have a lot of money in the budget, so fake blood slash. You're done. And for that, I didn't like it. So I'm actually going to put her death in Welcome to Shitty Side. It's not a good death, in my opinion. I love her character. I love the actress. I think that they both together are amazing. But her death is so stupid. Like, she just found the hand. They're all getting ready to go to do this together, and all of a sudden she's slashed. No, thank you. Now we are going to be looking at the Berman sisters. I'm actually going to be looking at them together because they both have very similar deaths, and I separated them, but I'm still going to be looking at them side by side. Cindy tells Ziggy to go, she's facing off against her ex-boyfriend who is dead, who was her boyfriend at the time, and she tells Ziggy to run, and then she gets stabbed and stabbed and stabbed. Cindy's sacrifice is what makes that scene, is what makes that death. The fact that she's trying so hard to get her sister to safety, and she is trying so hard to make sure that everything goes okay. It's like that level of control freak inside. But it's so sad. And the same can be said about Ziggy's death, because Ziggy does get stabbed repeatedly by the milkman. But she's also revived by Nick. Ziggy's death is not as impactful as Cindy's death, because Cindy was trying so hard to make that sacrifice and to get her sister out, whereas Ziggy was just trying to run and ran right into the milkman. I wouldn't want to be stabbed multiple times. I really wouldn't. But her death is just not as good as Cindy's death, especially for her to be such a main character, if not the main character of 1978 and the second half of 1666. Speaking of 1666, we're going to move right into 1666 and look at the town's children, who Cyrus killed by removing their eyes. I questioned this one a lot. I love the scene where they find the bodies. I put it in Welcome to Shitty Side. I'm going to explain why. I love the scene where they find the bodies, but I'm not sure, unless he really dug deep in there, how removing somebody's eyes can completely kill them. And I'm not a doctor, so that's perfectly fine for me to not know. And I would love to learn and figure all that out. But I'm not sure how just removing their eyes could completely kill them, unless he dug too deep. Because, I mean, he's standing up there with his eyes removed, still alive. So, yeah. Did he do something else to them? Was there wounds that we did not see? So that's why I'm putting it in Welcome to Shitty Side. There's just too many lingering unanswered questions. Plus, they're children. I hate watching children die in horror. And especially when you got Sadie Sink and you kill her at the very beginning of the movie. No. On the opposite side of that, we've got Cyrus Good, who winds up getting... He takes his eyes out, and then he winds up getting, like, a pitchfork, I think that's what it's called, in the side when he's going after Sarah. I'm also going to put that in Welcome to Shitty Side. This is supposed to be our main villain, like Ryan Torres, like Tommy Slater, and he's just done at the very beginning. He's just done. Like, he's gone. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, well, whoa. And yes, I know the point is to make Sarah seem like the villain and then it to be Solomon. But for him to be such an integral part of the story and then all of a sudden to be dead within, like, 5 minutes, it was a little... wasn't the best fan of that one. Same thing going with the widow. The widow's death, I did not like. I didn't really understand her part in the story, except for that she was just there to, like, divulge secrets and play around with, spells and shrines and stuff. However, she's got her neck slashed by Solomon Good, and the only thing that was important in that scene was that book being stolen. So, because they kind of wrote her off as a character, I'm also going to kind of write off her death. It just was not what I wanted or expected. Now, the last one that happens in the historical part of 1666 is Sarah Fear herself. And I think that it kind of would be negligent and stupid to not put Sarah Fear in Sarah Fear Lives. I mean, she's the reason it's named Sarah Fear Lives. She lives. Even though she doesn't. She dies. She gets hanged. But she's the whole reason for the series. Without Sarah Fear getting hanged, there is no series. There is no red moss. There is no bleeding on the bones and visions occurring. Maybe that wouldn't have been that bad. But not the point. Point is I'm going to put her in Sarah Fear Lives because her death is such a huge part of the story. And when she is there getting hanged, she curses him. She curses Solomon Good. She's not even a witch. And it's her words and the diction behind them where she's just like, the truth, good sir. And that makes it all the more of a better death. You're just like, ooh, okay, yes, fight back. Do something. Fight. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really great. Now we are going to be looking at Officer Kopinski and Officer Kuzio. Like I said, 2 different deaths, same scene. Officer Kopinski became a bigger part of the series because he gets his firearm stolen by Dina in the first one. We see in the second one that he's already a deputy. I'm assuming that he was under Nick's dad. I can't remember if it's dad or uncle. But he's just... I don't care that he's dead. I really don't. I'm putting him straight into Welcome to Shitty Side. He had no part to the film. His death was very just like, oh, look, they're here. The monsters are here. And the same thing is going to go with Officer Capuzio. Eddie Caputo, maybe? I don't know. But I just didn't care enough about them. They were basically cannon fodder to Nick, so it didn't matter. It just was what it was. They got, like, stabbed in the back. Very simple horror death. It wasn't great. Now we are going to be looking at the end all to be all Sheriff Nicholas Nick Good, the great whatever grandson of Solomon Good, the person who started all of this in the evil way. And he has an amazing death scene. His death is probably my favorite death of the entire series. I thought that it was so great. I thought that it was very interesting. I love the fact that he's fighting Dina and then she just throws his hand up onto that giant gelatin-looking mess and he sees everything. He sees everything that he has done. He sees everything that his ancestors have done. We see Simon again. We see Kate again. And, you know, they look a little worse for wear, but we see all of them again because he is finally realizing just like the error of his ways and everything and seeing all of that, and then all of a sudden you see Sarah stab him, but it's not Sarah, it's Dina, and just the mind fuck that it is. Such a good scene, such a good death scene. And yes, it was only a simple stabbing, but it's everything that led up to that simple stabbing that made it all the better. So I loved it. Now we are going to be looking at the random Sunnyvale resident that got hit by the garbage truck. I'm going to put it in the wolf pack. The only reason it's not in Shitty Side is because it's kind of like karma biting Sunnyvale in the ass. And I like that. I really do. I like how he's just like, ugh, God, they're here. There are other people who are of lower class than me. Social class. Really? And then all of a sudden, pff, he dies. Karma. Garbage day. Take your trash out. The garbage truck took it out for you. Now we are going to be looking at our last couple of deaths. These are going to be from the movie that came out this past year, which is Fear Street Prom Queen. And this has nothing to do with the original trilogy that we looked at. So these deaths are not going to be referencing any of those deaths. These are completely on their own, completely separate, set in the same town, Shady Side and Sunnyvale, but that's really it. That's where it ends. We are going to be looking at Christy Renault. I'm putting her straight into Welcome to Shitty Side. What the hell was that death? What the hell was that death? I can't. How can you not hear these people walking behind you? And when you turn around and see them, why are you just standing there? Why are you just like, oh, okay. Interesting choice of wear. Get to going, girl. If you can't run in them cowboy boots, take them off and get to sprinting. Because I swear to God, they're not going to walk. This is not Michael Myers, honey child. But yet, she just stands there. And then she dies. And then her red boots get destroyed. All around, it's a bad day. Not a fan of her death. Thought for them to make her such a big character where she not only is a nominee, but is also supposed to be like the resident bad girl. I thought that she would have gotten a little bit more, but yet she did not. Somebody that did get more, though, is Linda Harper. She is part of the Wolf Pack, and she gets her insides cut out. I'm putting her in Janitor Red Herring because I do like the fact that she walks into that dark area, and then you hear, like, the squelching and the moaning, and then she comes back out, and she's, like, holding her insides. I thought that was pretty cool. However, it's a gutting. She got gutted. And that happens a lot in these slasher films. So it wasn't as good as some of the ones in the top 2 tiers, and it wasn't as bad as some of the ones in the bottom 2 tiers. So I think that she is good right in the middle. just like she would have been if she had continued and not died to get prom queen. She was just kind of middle of the road. She was just there. Her boyfriend, however, Bobby, has a really cool death because he gets his hands chopped off with the paper cutter. And if you've ever used a paper cutter, those things are sharp as all get out. And you are just like, oh my God, please don't cut me, please don't cut me. He gets his hands cut off. And not just one hand either, both hands. Both hands hacked off at the wrist. And then he tries to open the door. I literally, for some reason, when I was watching this, I thought that he was going to, like, pull his leg up and they were going to cut that off too. But he didn't. So I do think that his death is pretty cool. I love that he does try to open the door. I love, and a lot of people have said this in their reactions, it's just something that you didn't expect, especially in this movie. You were just like, did he just lose his hands? And then there's blood everywhere, and he's trying to open the door, and it makes sense, but, like, I'm sitting there screaming, bust the window, take an elbow to it, you know, you have no hands. Or he could have just put his mouth around it and turned it, but we're not here nor there, he died. Next, looking at Judd, who, I hate his hair. I've said it then, and I will say it again, cut the damn thing off. But I do like the fact that they cut into his face. They missed his hair like I asked him to. But they do cut into his face, so I thought that was pretty cool. I'm going to go into Face Solomon Good. I like the fact that it's different. It's a circular saw to the face. I like the fact that it's shocking. So I will give it that. But it's not as good as other deaths. And plus, I just like the fact that I didn't have to look at that hair anymore. Along with his death, his girlfriend, Debbie, also got killed. She got kind of taunted into throwing herself into the electrical panel. This, kind of like her friend, Linda, is also going to go in Janitor Red Herring. I liked it. But actually, you know what? No. I'm going to put it in Toothpaste Solomon Good. I like the fact that she's thrown into the control panel, but it's not nobody throwing her into it. It's them scaring her so much that she throws herself into it. Because when you take something off my plate, we're cool. We're cool. So that's kind of what I think of that one. Melissa. Is she going to be the only one? No, okay. She is one of the only ones that's going to go up into Sarah Fear Lives. I loved this scene for one of three reasons. Number one, I love the fact that she's still in her little flag swimsuit. I thought that was hilarious. Two, this is where it's revealed that there is more than one killer in Fear Street Prom Queen. And three, that cleaver to the face is so clean, and then she just immediately falls backwards. And you're just like, where are you going to stash this body? Plus, it leads to my favorite scene, which is where Megan is conversating with other students, and the killer just walks right on past like a alien from Scream 3. So I really liked that scene. I thought that was really good. I love the actress. I think that she's really great. I had watched her also in Until Dawn, which I really liked, and I did a review for it for the channel. So I really like that. Obviously, I think it could have been better, but I think that really what saves it is when it's revealed that there's two killers. On the other side of that, we're going to look at Tyler Torres. I wonder if he's related to Ryan. I don't know. The Wikipedia said that his name was Tyler Torres, but it would be really cool if he was related to Ryan Torres from the first movie. He's going into the wolf pack. He gets stabbed through the head, which I think is really cool, especially with just a regular knife and the force that you have to put behind it. But he is made up to be this big character because Lori likes him and Tiffany dates him and this, that, and the other, but he's just a guy. He's just a guy. There's nothing special about this guy. He's not a romantic lead that you're like, oh my god, he's changing for her. Oh my god, he dropped everything he wanted to go follow his dreams. Or, he's not, fighting against the family obligations and all of that. He's just a guy who likes the female attention, and then when she tries to stop, he kind of exits on, and then he dies. So I'm not the biggest fan of Tyler. I think that Tyler's kind of a prick. But his death scene was also just much less to be desired for. Mr. Stoker. I'm just going to call him Mr. Stoker. I know I have his Stoker here. Stoker is just gonna go into the wolf pack. He has an axe in his head. They find it when they run past. He doesn't have a dedicated death scene. It just is what it is. I thought that it was really cool how they found him in the midst of the chase scene, but his death doesn't really impact the film all that much, except for that he is the janitor red herring, and he couldn't even make it into his own tier. Now we are going to be looking at Gerald. Gerald gets decapitated at the prom. And I'm not really sure what to do with that, because it becomes so public. The killer runs in, and they're like, whoa, oh my gosh, there's somebody here with an axe. And then he just lops off his head and keeps on going. Of course, that's right after he lopped off Gerald's girlfriend's leg, which did not lead to a kill. I am going to put his death into Janitor Red Herring. It is, out of the decapitations that we see in this series, it is the least favorite decapitation. I don't like his character. I think that he's annoying. I like when he died, so that was interesting, but it just is what it is. It wasn't my favorite. I wasn't a big fan of that one, so I put it in Janitor Red Herring. Now we are going to be looking at the last two deaths in the Fear Street series and Fear Street Prom Queen. Tiffany Falconer is going to go straight up into Sarah Fear Lives. The fact that she reveals herself to be one of the villains, which we already knew. We already knew she was a mean girl, but we didn't know that she was part of her mama's little plan. That was shocking. But when we find that out, and she goes after Lori just to get kicked and impaled on the bird below, is insanity. And it's something you can't unsee, and it's something that if you are in law enforcement and you walk upon, you're like, oh my goodness. Now, I don't know that I'm not a law enforcement officer, but it's anybody could see her impaled. And it almost looks like an episode from Hannibal, the TV show, with Hugh Dancy and Mads Mikkelsen. That's what it looks like that artistic layout, but death. So I really, really enjoyed that. Somebody I did not enjoy, though, is Nancy's. I'm putting her straight into the wolf pack. Yes, it's cool that she gets hit in the head with the trophy, and that's kind of the end of it. But she created all of this, and it was right after we find out that she had actually been the killer of Lori's dad and had, put the blame on Lori's mom. So I felt like there should have been more, not just a hit to the head. And then, you find out that her blood is making the witch's mark. Like, we already knew that. We already knew she was crazy. We already knew she was probably, taken upon by the witch's mark. So that's no surprise to us. What is the surprise is that I hated her death. I felt like it was whatever. The only thing I do like is the fact that she starts begging for help, and Lori's like, do you know what you just put me through? Like, do you want to have a conversation about this? Because my therapist would love a conversation about this. And she's just sitting there like, what? What? You don't want to help me? Like, no, I don't want to help you. I don't want to help you. And then she leaves. So that's probably my favorite part. That's the only thing that saved it from Welcome to Shitty Side. But I loved it. Alright, everyone. So that was the tier ranking for the deaths on the Fear Street quadrilogy. These are the only films that I know of right now that are going to be in this series. If they wind up making another one, we will bring this back, revisit it, try to, put everything where it's currently, and then add the new ones in. Same thing that we will do with Scream. Once I do my reaction to that one, we will go back and add it into the tier ranking. And same if they wind up doing another Final Destination film. I hope that you enjoyed this. I really do love doing these tier rankings. I think I'm going to have to make sure that I do it when the movies are fresh in my mind after I've done my reactions to them, just to make it a tad easier. But I did still really enjoy doing it, and I really enjoyed seeing my opinion on each little death, and I really hope that you enjoyed it too. Like I said, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you do want me to do any other tier rankings for anything. The openings, the Ghostface Killers, Final Destination opening, premonition, stuff like that. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, concerns. Our next video is going to be a Trailers of Terror video because there are so many trailers that have come out this couple of months that I have not seen, that I want to see, but I'm terrified to watch them. So we're going to be doing those next. And then next week I have a special project that I'm working on for you guys that has to do with a pretty popular TV series. I'm excited. But until next time, Cinephiles, I'm Tiffany, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.